Chosen one, this moment didn't arrive by accident. And the feeling tightening in your chest right now is the signal that something precious connected to your daughter is calling for your attention. Not later, not someday, but now. You didn't click this lightly. Something pulled you. Maybe quietly, maybe urgently. And before anything else unfolds, stay with this until the very end, because timing matters here more than you think. In the comments, people will be leaving their warmest wishes and writing, Amen, not as noise, not as habit, but as a way of releasing intention and energy outward, letting it move, letting it breathe, letting it align with what needs to happen next for your daughter and for you. There are moments in life that don't come with sirens or obvious warnings. They arrive softly, almost politely, a change in her tone, a look that lingers half a second too long, a silence where laughter used to sit. And you feel it, even if you can't name it, especially if you can't name it. This isn't about panic. It's about awareness, the kind that wakes you up at odd hours, the kind that makes you stare at nothing and think of her for no clear reason. That's not random. That's connection. You've been strong for a long time, strong in ways nobody applauded. You carried responsibilities quietly. You made decisions while tired. You held things together when it would have been easier to look away, and part of you learned how to compartmentalize, how to push feelings aside so life could keep moving. But when it comes to your daughter, that strategy doesn't apply the same way. She doesn't need the version of you that survives. She needs the version of you that sees. This isn't about something being wrong with her. Let that idea go. It's about something being unspoken, unprocessed, something she may not yet have words for. Children, even grown ones, don't always ask for help directly. They test the space around them instead. They see who notices, who pauses, who stays present when things feel slightly off. And right now, the space she's testing is yours. You might be wondering if you're imagining it, if you're overthinking, if this is just fear dressed up as intuition. That doubt is normal. It shows you care. But here's the quiet truth. Real intuition doesn't shout. It nudges. It repeats itself gently until you finally stop and listen. And you did stop. You're here. That already says more than you realize. There's a particular kind of loneliness that can exist even when someone is surrounded by people. Your daughter may be navigating emotions she doesn't know how to translate yet. Pressure, comparison, expectations she never asked for but somehow feels responsible for carrying. The world moves fast, faster than it did when you were learning who you were, and she's absorbing all of it. The noise, the images, the standards, the unspoken rules about who she should be, how she should look, how she should succeed, how she should feel. That weight adds up quietly. What she needs from you isn't a lecture. It isn't solutions fired off too quickly. It's your presence without an agenda, your ability to listen without correcting, to sit in silence without rushing to fill it, to ask one simple question and actually wait for the answer. Even if it takes time, even if it comes out sideways, even if it doesn't come at all right away. You might feel unprepared, like you don't have the right words. That's okay. Perfect words aren't required here. Consistency is. Showing up is. Letting her see that she doesn't have to earn your attention by being okay all the time. Letting her see that it's safe to be confused, overwhelmed, uncertain, especially with you. There's also something important about timing. Helping doesn't always mean intervening loudly. Sometimes it means adjusting yourself first, slowing your reactions, softening your tone, becoming more available emotionally even when you're tired, especially when you're tired. She notices more than you think. The pauses, the sighs, the moments when you're distracted, not with judgment, with sensitivity. This is a season of subtle guidance, not force, of quiet protection, not control. You don't need to hover. You don't need to interrogate. You need to create an atmosphere where she feels seen without being inspected, where help doesn't feel like pressure, where love doesn't feel conditional. And if there's guilt rising in you right now about moments you missed, conversations you rushed, signs you didn't catch sooner, let that soften too. Guilt freezes movement. Awareness creates it. You're here now. That matters more than a perfect past. This connection between you and your daughter didn't weaken. It didn't disappear. It's simply asking to be used differently now, more intentionally, more gently, more honestly. You're not being called to be flawless. You're being called to be present in a way that fits who she is becoming, not who she used to be. Take a breath, not a rushed one, a real one. Feel where you are. Feel why this matters. The help she needs begins with that pause, with that choice to lean in instead of assuming everything will sort itself out on its own. This is only the beginning of the conversation. There's more to uncover, more clarity ahead. But it starts here, with you listening, with you staying, with you deciding that this connection is worth your full attention right now. There's something else you need to understand, and it's quieter than fear, quieter than panic, quieter even than love sometimes. It's responsibility mixed with tenderness, the kind that doesn't announce itself, the kind that settles into your bones when you realize that your daughter is no longer just being shaped by what you teach her directly, but by what you model when you think she isn't watching. She watches, always has, not in a dramatic way, in fragments, in impressions, in small moments that don't feel important to you at the time. How you respond when you're stressed, how you speak about yourself, how you talk about other people, how you handle disappointment. She collects these things, not to judge you, to understand how to survive her own feelings. And right now, something inside her is trying to learn how to hold itself together. That doesn't mean she's breaking. It means she's growing. Growth looks messy before it looks strong. It feels unstable before it feels grounded. And during that phase, children don't need someone to fix them. They need someone steady enough not to flinch when things feel unclear. You might feel an urge to protect her from discomfort. That instinct is ancient, natural. But not all discomfort is danger. Some of it is transformation asking for space. The real question is whether she feels allowed to move through that space with you nearby, or whether she feels she has to navigate it alone to avoid worrying you, disappointing you, or being misunderstood. Sometimes children go quiet not because they don't trust you, but because they don't want to add weight to what they already sense you're carrying. They become perceptive early. They learn when to hold back, when to smile instead of explain, when to say, "I'm fine," because it feels easier than opening something they don't know how to close again. This is where your role shifts slightly. Less direction, more invitation, less authority, more safety. Not safety as in rules and boundaries alone, but emotional safety. The kind that says, without words, you can bring your unfinished thoughts here. You can be unsure here. You don't have to know exactly how to explain yourself. And this may require you to unlearn a few things, to resist the urge to jump ahead, to diagnose, to compare her experiences to your own. Her inner world doesn't need to match yours to be valid. It only needs to be acknowledged. There's a particular power in simply saying, "I'm here, I'm listening, take your time." Even if she shrugs, even if she changes the subject, even if nothing comes out that day, you're planting something. Consistency builds trust long before conversation does. You may also notice things surfacing in yourself during this time. Old fears, old regrets, questions about whether you did enough, said enough, noticed enough. Let those pass through without turning them into self-punishment. Awareness isn't an accusation. It's an opening. Your daughter doesn't need you to be perfect. She needs you to be real. Calm enough to sit with uncertainty. Brave enough to admit when you don't have all the answers. Present enough to notice when her energy shifts, even slightly. There will be moments when helping means doing nothing outwardly. No speeches, no interventions. Just showing up the same way, again and again. until she feels it in her nervous system, until she relaxes without realizing why, until she starts talking not because she was asked, but because she feels ready. This kind of help doesn't look dramatic. It doesn't come with clear milestones, but it changes everything quietly. It teaches her that support doesn't disappear when things get complicated. That connection doesn't depend on performance, that she is allowed to be in process. And you, whether you realize it or not, are capable of offering exactly that. You wouldn't be here if you weren't. There's another layer to this that people don't talk about much, because it's uncomfortable and it asks for honesty. Sometimes the help your daughter needs has less to do with what's happening to her, and more to do with the space she's growing up inside of. The emotional climate, the unspoken rules, the things everyone feels but nobody names. Children adapt fast, faster than adults. They sense tension before it's explained. They feel distance before it's intentional. They adjust themselves to fit the room. And over time, that adjustment can turn into habit. She may be carrying versions of herself that were shaped to keep peace, to avoid conflict, to not be too much. Not because you told her to, because she learned how to read the environment. This isn't blame, it's awareness. And awareness gives you choice. You might start noticing small things now that you didn't question before. How she checks your mood before speaking. How she edits her excitement. How she downplays her worries with humor. These are intelligent coping strategies. They work. Until they don't. Until the effort of holding everything in starts to weigh more than letting something out. Helping her doesn't mean pulling those coping mechanisms away. It means showing her she doesn't always need them with you. That she doesn't have to scan the room first. That your love isn't fragile. That your attention won't disappear if things get heavy. There's also the matter of trust in oneself. Many daughters struggle silently with self-doubt that doesn't come from one clear source. It's cumulative. Social comparisons, expectations, invisible standards that feel impossible to meet. She may look confident on the surface and still question her worth in private. She may succeed and still feel behind. She may smile and still feel unseen. When you affirm her, be specific, not generic praise, not automatic reassurance. Tell her what you see in her that isn't tied to achievement. Her sensitivity, her persistence, her ability to notice details others miss, her kindness when no one's watching. These things anchor identity more deeply than accomplishments ever will. And listen to how you speak about yourself, especially around her. Self-criticism teaches faster than encouragement. If she hears you diminish your own needs, your own emotions, your own limits, she learns that doing so is normal. If she sees you rest without guilt, ask for help without shame, admit uncertainty without collapsing, she learns that too. This part can feel confronting, because it asks you to grow alongside her, not just guide her. But that shared growth strengthens the bond rather than weakening it. It creates equality and humanity, even within different roles. You don't have to announce these shifts. You don't have to explain them. Just embody them. Children notice changes in energy long before they notice changes in words. There may also be moments when she pulls away slightly, tests independence, withholds information. That's not rejection. It's differentiation. She's figuring out where she ends and where you begin. Respecting that boundary while remaining emotionally available is a delicate balance, but it's one worth learning. Let her know, subtly and consistently, that she doesn't lose you by becoming herself. That distance doesn't equal disconnection. That help doesn't come with strings attached. This stage isn't loud. It doesn't demand urgency in obvious ways. But it's foundational. What you do here shapes how safe she feels being honest later, how willing she is to reach out when things feel overwhelming, how deeply she trusts that support exists even when life feels uncertain. You're not late. You're not behind. You're exactly where you need to be to offer what matters most right now. At some point, you may realize that what your daughter needs most isn't something new added to her life, but something removed. Pressure, noise, the constant sense that she has to be ahead, prepared, impressive, or emotionally composed. Children learn very early how to perform stability, and the world rewards that performance. But inside, it can create exhaustion that doesn't have a clear name. You might notice tiredness that sleep doesn't fix, irritation without an obvious cause, a loss of interest in things she once loved, not dramatically, gradually. These are not failures, they're signals. Signals that her inner world is working overtime trying to keep up. Helping here means slowing the pace where you can, protecting pockets of stillness, allowing days that don't need to be productive, letting moments exist without turning them into lessons or milestones. Sometimes the most powerful support you can give is permission to rest without explanation. There's also grief that can live quietly inside children. Grief for versions of themselves they outgrew too quickly, for innocence they didn't realize they were losing, for expectations that shifted before they were ready. This grief doesn't always look like sadness. Sometimes it looks like numbness, or sarcasm, or withdrawal, or overachievement. If she ever shares something vulnerable with you, even indirectly, resist the urge to minimize it. Statements like, "It's not that bad," or "You'll get over it," may sound comforting, but they can feel dismissive. Instead, let her experience land where it is. You don't have to agree with every feeling to respect it. Saying, "That sounds really heavy," or "I can see why that would hurt," builds trust faster than reassurance ever could. There may be moments when you feel helpless, when you wish you could take something from her and carry it yourself. That instinct is love. But part of helping is trusting her strength while remaining available. Let her struggle without feeling abandoned. Let her succeed without feeling alone. And pay attention to your own nervous system. Children regulate through proximity. If you're constantly tense, rushed, emotionally distant, she feels it even if you say all the right things. Calm is contagious. So is presence. So is honesty. This doesn't mean hiding your emotions. It means owning them. Saying, "I'm a bit overwhelmed today, but I'm okay." That kind of transparency teaches resilience without fear. It shows her that emotions can exist without chaos. There's a quiet courage in staying open during uncertain seasons, in not forcing clarity before it's ready, in allowing trust to build organically instead of demanding it. This is the work happening now. Not flashy, not visible, but deeply shaping. You may never get a clear moment where she says, "Thank you for helping me." The impact might show up years later in how she chooses relationships, in how she treats herself, in how willing she is to ask for help when things feel too heavy. That's how you'll know. Not through words, through patterns, through ease, through a sense that something softened where it once felt tight. Keep going. Keep listening. Keep staying. What you're doing right now matters more than you'll ever fully see. There's a point where helping becomes less about action and more about trust. Trusting that the foundation you've built with your daughter is stronger than a single moment, a single mistake, a single misunderstanding. Trusting that she carries your care with her, even when she doesn't show it openly. Trusting that not every silence means distance, and not every distance means loss. You may notice yourself wanting reassurance, a sign that you're doing this right, a clear signal that she's okay, that you haven't missed something important. But parenting, especially at this stage, rarely offers clean confirmation. It asks you to move forward without constant validation, to stay steady, even when feedback is minimal. That steadiness becomes a kind of anchor she may not even consciously recognize yet. Sometimes the help she needs looks like space paired with consistency, letting her explore who she is becoming while knowing exactly where you are. Not hovering, not disappearing, just being reliably present. The kind of presence that doesn't demand updates or emotional access on a schedule, but remains available without conditions. There may be moments when she chooses someone else to talk to first. A friend, a teacher, another adult. That can sting if you let it. But it doesn't mean you've been replaced. It means you've given her enough security to reach outward. That's not failure. That's evidence of trust. Watch how you respond in those moments. Curiosity builds bridges. Defensiveness builds walls. You don't need to compete for closeness. You already have it in ways that run deeper than conversation alone. It lives in shared history. In rituals you didn't realize were rituals. In the way she recognizes your footsteps, your tone, your energy. There's also the matter of forgiveness. Not just hers. Yours. Forgiving yourself for not knowing then what you know now. For responding from exhaustion. For times you were distracted, impatient, unsure. Growth doesn't invalidate the past. It reframes it. You did what you could with what you had. Now you're doing something different because you have more awareness. That's not an admission of failure. It's evolution. If you ever feel fear rising about her future, pause before acting on it. Fear often wants control. Love wants understanding. Ask yourself whether what you're about to say or do is about easing her path or easing your anxiety. That distinction matters more than it sounds. Helping also means allowing joy back into the connection. Not everything needs to be serious or heavy. Laughter regulates. Shared lightness heals in ways conversations can't. Moments of play, of silliness, of doing nothing important together. Those rebuild safety faster than long talks ever will. And remember this, she doesn't need you to protect her from the world entirely. She needs you to help her trust herself in it, to believe her feelings make sense, to know she can return to you without shame when things get confusing. You are not standing at the edge of something fragile. You're standing inside something alive, changing, and resilient. This bond has room to stretch without breaking. It always has. Stay gentle. With her. With yourself. You're doing more than you realize, even on the days it feels like nothing is happening at all. There's a quiet shift that happens when you stop seeing your daughter as someone you're constantly trying to guide, and start seeing her as someone you're walking beside. Not ahead of. Not behind. Beside. That shift changes everything. It changes how you listen. It changes how you react. It changes how safe she feels showing you the parts of herself that are still forming. At this stage, help often looks like patience stretched a little longer than feels comfortable. Like waiting through pauses that feel awkward. Like letting conversations drift without steering them back to what you think matters most. Because what matters to her may not arrive in the shape you expect. It may come disguised as frustration, or boredom, or resistance, or a sudden interest in something you don't fully understand yet. Pay attention to what lights her up even briefly. Not to turn it into a plan or a path, but to acknowledge it. Being seen in small joys builds confidence faster than being corrected in fears. It tells her that her inner compass is worth noticing, that curiosity is allowed, that she doesn't have to justify what draws her in. There will also be times when she disappoints you, or confuses you, or makes choices you wouldn't make yourself. This is where restraint becomes part of helping. Not silence. Restraint. Choosing words carefully. Choosing timing wisely. Choosing connection over being right in the moment. Guidance lands best when it's offered from calm, not from urgency. You might feel moments of grief for the version of her that needed you differently. That's natural. Roles change. Relationships evolve. Let yourself feel that without turning it into distance. The relationship isn't ending. It's maturing. And maturity asks for flexibility, not control. If conflict arises, and it will, remember that repair matters more than perfection. Saying "I didn't handle that well" can heal more than a flawless argument ever could. It teaches accountability without shame. It shows her that relationships can bend without breaking. There's something powerful in being the place she can return to without having to explain everything. The place where she can sit quietly, where she can be irritable without being labeled, where she can be uncertain without being pushed to decide. That kind of refuge doesn't get built through grand gestures. It's built through consistency, through tone, through your willingness to stay emotionally available even when things feel unresolved. And don't underestimate the impact of simply believing in her. Not in a vague way, in a grounded way. Believing that she has the capacity to navigate her inner world, that she can learn from mistakes, that she can recover from missteps, that she is not fragile just because she is sensitive. Sensitivity is not weakness, it's perception. And with the right support, it becomes strength. You're not meant to carry her life for her. You're meant to stand close enough that she knows she's not alone while carrying it herself. That balance takes practice. It takes humility. It takes presence. There may still be moments ahead that feel uncertain. Moments where you wonder if you're doing enough, saying enough, noticing enough. When that happens, return to what you know. You're here. You're paying attention. You're willing to adjust. That's what help looks like at its core. This isn't about fixing a moment. It's about shaping a relationship that can hold many moments, including the difficult ones. And you're already doing that, even when it doesn't feel obvious. Stay with her. Stay open. Stay human. The rest unfolds from there. There will come a moment, maybe not today, maybe not soon, when you suddenly realize something has shifted. Not in a dramatic way. No announcement, no clear marker. Just a quiet knowing. You'll notice that the tension you once carried around her has softened, that the air between you feels easier, that conversations don't feel like something you have to prepare for. They just happen. And in that moment, you'll understand that what you did mattered. Not because you fixed everything, not because you said the perfect thing, but because you stayed. Staying is underrated. Staying when you're tired. Staying when you don't know what to say. Staying when you're unsure if you're helping or just standing there. Most people leave emotionally long before they leave physically. You didn't. You chose to remain present even when it asked something from you. That choice is what shapes safety. Your daughter may never fully articulate what this period meant to her. She might not connect the dots consciously, but it will live in her body, in how she regulates herself when things feel overwhelming, in how she chooses partners, friends, and environments, in whether she trusts that care doesn't disappear when she's not at her best. One day, she may face something difficult and surprise herself by staying calm, by asking for help instead of shutting down, by trusting her instincts instead of doubting them. And she won't trace that strength back to a specific conversation or moment. She'll just feel it as something solid inside her, something familiar, something she learned without realizing she was learning. And you'll know, quietly, without needing recognition. There's also something here for you. Helping her in this way changes you too. It slows you down. It teaches you patience in places you didn't know you needed it. It softens old edges. It brings awareness to parts of yourself that were running on autopilot. Growth doesn't only happen downward through generations. It moves sideways, back and forth. You evolve together. If fear ever tries to convince you that you're running out of time, don't listen. Connection isn't measured by age or stages. It's measured by honesty and presence. And those are always available, as long as you choose them. You may still make mistakes. You will still have off days. You'll say the wrong thing sometimes. You'll miss cues occasionally. That doesn't undo what you've built. Repair is part of love. Returning is part of love. Showing up again after missteps is part of love. What matters is that your daughter knows, deeply and without question, that she doesn't have to earn your care. That it doesn't disappear when she's confused, emotional, quiet, or distant. That it doesn't depend on her success or her strength. That it's there. Steady. Familiar. Unconditional. That knowledge becomes an inner voice she carries forward. A voice that says, I'm allowed to need help. A voice that says, I'm not alone. A voice that says, I can face this. You were called to this not because you are perfect, but because you are capable of love that adapts, love that listens, love that stays human. And if there's one thing to hold on to as this chapter continues, it's this. You don't need to do more. You need to remain open. You need to remain present. You need to keep choosing connection over certainty. That's how help becomes real. That's how bonds deepen instead of breaking. That's how your daughter learns. Without being told that she is supported, seen, and never walking alone. And that is enough.